Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 3, Book 34, number 350. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle forbade the selling of things by a town dweller on behalf of a desert dweller, and similarly najish was forbidden. And one should not urge somebody to return the goods to the seller so as to sell him his own goods, nor should one demand the hand of a girl who has already been engaged to someone else, and a woman should not try to cause some other woman to be divorced in order to take her place. Volume 3, Book 34, number 351. Narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. A man decided that a slave of his would be manumitted after his death, and later on he was in need of money. So the Prophet took the slave and said, "Who will buy this slave from me?" Nu'aym bin Abdullah bought him for such and such price, and the Prophet gave him the slave. Volume 3, Book 34, number 352. Narrated by Ibn Umar. Allah's apostle forbade najish. Volume 3, Book 34, number 353. Narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. Allah's apostle forbade the sale called Habal al-Habala, which was a kind of sale practiced in the pre-Islamic period of ignorance. One would pay the price of a she-camel which was not born yet would be born by the immediate offspring of an extant she-camel. Volume 3, Book 34, number 354. Narrated by Abu Sa'id. Allah's apostle forbade the selling by munabada, i.e. to sell one's garment by casting it to the buyer, not allowing him to examine or see it. Similarly, he forbade the selling by mulamasa. Mulamasa is to buy a garment, for example, by merely touching it, not looking at it. Volume 3, Book 34, number 355. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet forbade two kinds of dressing. One of them is to sit with one's legs drawn up while wrapped in one garment. The other is to lift that garment on one's shoulders. And also forbade two kinds of sale, al-limas and an-nibba. Volume 3, Book 34, number 356. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle forbade selling by mulamasa and munabada. Volume 3, Book 34, number 357. Narrated by Abu Sa'id. The Prophet forbade two kinds of dresses and two kinds of sale, i.e., mulamasa and munabada. Volume 3, Book 34, number 358. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, "Don't keep camels and sheep unmilked for a long time, for whoever buys such an animal has the option to milk it and then either to keep it or return it to the owner along with one SA of dates." Some narrated from Ibn Sirin that the Prophet had said, "1 SA of wheat, and he has the option for 3 days." And some narrated from Ibn Sirin, a SA of dates, not mentioning the option for 3 days. But a SA of dates is mentioned in most narrations. Volume 3, Book 34, number 359. Narrated by Abdullah bin Mas'ud. Whoever buys a sheep which has not been milked for a long time, has the option of returning it along with 1 SA of dates. And the Prophet forbade going to meet the seller on the way, as he has no knowledge of the market price and he may sell his goods at a low price. Volume 3, Book 34, number 360. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, "Do not go forward to meet the caravan, to buy from it on the way before it reaches the town. And do not urge buyers to cancel their purchases to sell them, your own goods, yourselves, and do not practice najish. A town dweller should not sell the goods for the desert dweller. Do not leave sheep unmilked for a long time, when they are on sale, and whoever buys such an animal has the option of returning it, after milking it, along with a sa of dates or keeping it. It has been kept unmilked for a long period by the seller, to deceive others. Volume 3, Book 34, number 361. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's Apostle said, "Whoever buys a sheep which has been kept unmilked for a long period, and milks it, can keep it if he is satisfied, and if he is not satisfied, he can return it, but he should pay 1 sa of dates for the milk." Volume 3, Book 34, number 362. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, "If a slave girl commits illegal sexual intercourse and it is proved beyond doubt, then her owner should lash her and should not blame her after the legal punishment. And then if she repeats the illegal sexual intercourse, he should lash her again and should not blame her after the legal punishment. And if she commits it a third time, then he should sell her even for a hair rope." Volume 3, Book 34, number 363. Narrated by Abu Hurairah and Zayd bin Khalid. Allah's Apostle was asked about the slave girl, if she was a virgin and committed illegal sexual intercourse. The Prophet said, "If she committed illegal sexual intercourse, lash her, and if she did it a second time, then lash her again, and if she repeated the third time, then sell her even for a hair rope." Ibn Shihab said, "I don't know whether to sell her after the third or fourth offense." Volume 3, Book 34, number 364. Narrated by Aisha. Allah's Apostle came to me and I told him about the slave girl, Barira. Allah's Apostle said, "Buy and manumit her, for the wallah is for the one who manumits." In the evening the Prophet got up and glorified Allah as he deserved and then said, "Why do some people impose conditions which are not present in Allah's book, laws? Whoever imposes such a condition as is not in Allah's laws, then that condition is invalid even if he imposes 100 conditions, for Allah's conditions are more binding and reliable." Volume 3, Book 34, number 365. Narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. Aisha wanted to buy Barira and he, the Prophet, went out for the prayer. When he returned, she told him that they, her masters, refused to sell her except on the condition that her wallah would go to them. The Prophet replied, "The wallah would go to him who manumits." Haman asked Nafi whether her, Barira's, husband was a free man or a slave. He replied that he did not know. Volume 3, Book 34, number 366. Narrated by Jarrah. I have given a pledge of allegiance to Allah's Apostle for to testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and Muhammad is his apostle, to offer prayers perfectly, to pay zakat, to listen to and obey Allah's and his Prophet's orders, and to give good advice to every Muslim. Volume 3, Book 34, number 367. Narrated by Tawus. Ibn Abbas said, Allah's Apostle said, "Do not go to meet the caravans on the way, for buying their goods without letting them know the market price. A town dweller should not sell the goods of a desert dweller on behalf of the latter." I asked Ibn Abbas, "What does he mean by not selling the goods of a desert dweller by a town dweller?" He said, "He should not become his broker."